We were going to go live here in a couple minutes. We're waiting on the host, Gorgeous George, goes. I have Dan Tom here with me. You can see him on camera. I have opted not to be on camera because I'm a little under the weather, so I'm probably going to take off today so I don't get everybody sick. But we have Luciana finally in studio. I think we've tried to do this a few times, and we're happy to have her here. So it's really, really, really nice of you to come out and not just be on the show, but be in studio. So thank you for coming in.
Pleasure, guys. Thank you for inviting me to come here. I'm a big fan of you guys, obviously.
Thank you.
And last time, unfortunately, I couldn't go. Couldn't come to the show, but this time I said, you know what? Let's gonna make it.
Thanks, Lou. That's her
Thank
nickname.
You're welcome.
Can you raise your mic just a little bit?
Yes.
Right there. You're good.
Hi. So this is the Gorgeous George.
That's gorgeous.
What's going on, Gigi?
Okay.
Dude, I'm jacked up. I actually got a little better, but I asked Danny earlier. It was a mess.
He was coughing.
Okay.
It was really bad.
So what are you doing?
I got to bounce.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave everything running. Just don't say anything dumb during the break. And you should be fine.
Or now.
And Dan, you want to see this? Because you'll probably remember this. Sorry about the pre-show today, guys.
Guys, you're up in a minute.
Watch Manchester United.
When the show ends, all you do is hit that button and then that button. See that? That one and that one.
You got that, Dan? Because I don't.
Okay.
That's
That
when the
button
show's over.
After I cleared Danny. Bye, Danny.
Yeah.
That button, that button. Bye, Danny.
Yeah.
That button,
Yeah, but remember when Danny says bye, or when when George signs off, technically you're still they could still hear you until you hit that. So don't go, oh man, that was great.
Back in
This
30.
person's stupid or something like that, because they'll still hear you. So you got to turn that off first and then that off. All right. 30 seconds, George.
How many?
30.
20.
20 now.
Gosh. All right, guys, coming up at 10. Stand by.
10
Thank
seconds.
you.
Dan, here you
Tell
go.
George I'll text him about breaks.
Danny's going to text you about breaks.
Stop breaks.
Yeah.
This is your captain speaking. We are making our descent into Las Vegas McCarran Airport. On behalf of our crew, we'd like to thank you for flying MMAjunkie Airlines. Now please fasten your seatbelts and put your tray tables in your upright position because the descent is gonna be a little bit bumpy.
Alright, Junkie Nation, it's time to roll, baby, on MMAjunkie Radio with Gorgeous George and Gold. This is what we do and why we do it, baby. All night long, we rollin'! Yeah!
The MMAjunkie Radio revolution is upon us.
Can you dig it?
There's no escape. No escape. Through the vast frontier of cyberspace and through a sea of stars in outer space.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've solidified our combat communications stranglehold.
We are controlling transmission.
With the use of MMAjunkie Radio and SiriusXM satellite radio technology. MMAjunkie Radio. Commence transmission. Live from MMAjunkie Radio HQ in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Here are your hosts, Gorgeous George and Go.
From the fight capital of the world inside the beautiful Mandalay Bay Racing Sportsbook, you are listening to the MMAjunkie Radio Show, the only show that matters. I'm your host, Gorgeous George. With me, as always, is the devious and dastardly Goes. Ari's co-host, Becky's handling all the producing duties today. It's going to be Danny, and of course, this distinguished panel that we have to my right, our far right, is UFC Octagon girl Luciana Andrade.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Luciana. How are you?
I'm great.
Welcome.
Very happy. Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy for being here. We tried to do this for a couple of times, and finally it's happening. So thank you so much.
You're not as happy as us. And this is Dan Tom, one of the best analysts in the sport from Flow Combat. What's up, Dan? Good to have you back.
Oh, great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me back.
Awesome, man. Well, got a fun show ahead of us. We got Ryan Stoddard from Victory Fighting Championships, and then we're just going to talk MMA, the UFC, Bellator, anything that comes up. Of course, you're more than welcome to call in, 866-522-2846. We'll find out more about Luciana. This is her first time on the show, and you speak very, very well. I know English very well.
Oh, thank you.
So you're born in Brazil, but now you live in the United States,
Yeah.
Florida.
Yeah, I live in Miami. I mean, it's Aventura actually. It's inside of Miami-Dade College, Miami-Dade College, Miami-Dade County. I was born in Brazil, and I'm here in the U.S. since 2014, and started to work with UFC in 2014 as well in November, and that's what I'm doing ever since.
Very cool. And I see legal counsel is part of
Yeah.
the resume.
Yeah, because that's my degree. I have a bachelor degree in law in Brazil, but here I cannot practice. In the beginning, when I started to work with, as an UFC octagon girl, I was doing more stuff, the legal stuff back in Brazil, using my my connections over there. But it's getting harder and harder once I'm here, so I'm doing less and less. But I'm planning to go back to college and maybe do something here, a master or something. I'm just trying to figure it out what exactly.
You want to practice law here?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Then I would have to do a master and then the bar exam and everything.
Gotcha. All right. Very impressive, though.
Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, you might know Claudia Gadelia. Does she also have a legal background, or because that's what I heard? And then the more I look it up, I haven't been able to verify.
I don't know really.
Yeah, I thought I heard that as well.
Yeah, but
and
I mean, I
was
don't
told
doubt
by
it. She's very very smart. She's very good with words. So if you're saying that, it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. How did you win did you compete in a contest, or did someone just find you?
I had an agent back in Brazil, and because I always did, modeling stuff, and I knew because of him, I knew they were doing like this selection. So I submitted like pictures of me, and they liked it, so they got in touch with me, and then I did an interview. A week later, I was working in Brazil, so it was pretty much like this.
Did you have to compete against others?
Maybe because they were doing a selection, but I didn't meet anybody.
Yeah. What was what they ask you? Like, just how bad do you want to be an octagon girl, or what do you know about MMA? What are your favorite fighters?
Not really. They wanted to know about the modeling background, and obviously they check about you to see if you're a good person. Because being an octagon girl is not just about the looks; it's about personality. So they during the interview they wanted to know who I was and actually talk to me. So they actually said, "Oh, we're very impressed that you speak a very good English, and then you have a background, you have a degree. It's important for us to have different girls. If you look at it, all the girls are different. If you think about sizes and if you think about what they are doing despite of the UFC, so you have girls that they have their own business. They are, for example, Kay Healy, she is a personal trainer. She is into nutritional area. She's studying. It's interesting, to have all these different girls. So when I had this interview, they basically wanted to see if I was a good person.
And are you a good person?
I guess.
Yeah.
I try to.
We all got skeletons, If you want to share, any, go ahead.
I think so. I like to think.
I'm gonna make her face turn red. You see that?
Almost.
Yeah.
I think.
Are you a good person, Dan?
there.
Or we don't even, we know you here around Vegas, but were you a dope dealer back in the
Oh, geez,
back
you
in
guys
the day? Or
you're catching me vulnerable now. I'm a bit sleep deprived, so I'll be a little more honest on today's show, just to warn y'all. But
one day I'm gonna write a book, and I wasn't a choir boy all my life, but I can't say it yet. I gotta let 10 years go by, and then maybe I'll talk about it.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you ever get,
it's a setup for people to buy the book. All 12 of you that might be interested.
I'll buy the book, but I'll tell you what, you'll probably get one of those stories if I ever eventually share a street fight story. Finally, here, you'll probably hear some of the some of the more.
You have a good street fight story?
I got a bunch of good ones, but yeah.
Well, why don't you share one
right now?
Why not?
All right.
You want to hear it, Luciana?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I'm going to ask you as well if you've ever had one. I ask all the in-studio guests. And even the girls have delivered some good ones. Did you know that Chris Cyborg, probably the baddest female on the planet, she says, I have one, and I'm expecting her to tell me one where she beat the whole neighborhood. Mm-hmm. She actually lost in her story. So, very humble of her to share that, but
well, I was going to say my favorite one, actually, it's going to be easy for you to follow if you have something, okay. This one I lost. Okay, but it was a really funny story though. It was out here. I really like punk rock and music scenes, and not to get into a big thing, but there's different types.
Mosh pit?
Yeah. This was more like, I was in more of a hardcore punk, which is like Black Flag or like slam dancing, the guys swinging arms and kicking and crowd surfing.
Are you supposed to bump someone, or I don't even know if you're supposed to, or
it's like
what?
that episodes of The Simpsons where Bart and Lisa are fighting in the kitchen, and Lisa starts swinging her arms. She's like, I'm going to swing my arm this way, and if you get in the way, it's your fault. And Bart goes, well, fine, I'm going to kick my legs this way. And there we go. Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a choreograph to it, but
a little bit, but there's also a lot of violence. They called it slam dancing in the 80s.
Yeah.
And the problem here in Vegas is they would mix these shows where they would cross book these different sects of music, and it would create kind of gang fights. So I was a part of these more kind of straight edge kind of punk rockers. They were called the Death First Crew, and they start fights with everybody. They liked me because I could fight, but I really was not about that. I just came out of the karate scene. I was like, my body's my temple. I'm not about the gang thing. I'm just more, not, doing drugs and drinking more for martial arts. But okay, if you guys aren't going to beat me up and welcome me in, sure, I'll go to shows with you.
Okay.
And sure enough, we go to this show, and it's a DRI show. And DRI is more street punk. That's more like studs on the vest, mohawk, more like your stereotypical punk rockers, right? Mm-hmm. Except it was like 90% street punkers and about 10% of, us, the Death First Crew, the hardcore kids. And I actually liked DRI and street punk, and I was kind of more like a Gandhi kind of in the middle guy, and I was like, why can't y'all get along? You know what? Screw you guys. You're going to stay back here. I'm going to go up and enjoy the show.
Right.
There's not going to be any problem. But as soon as I get up to the front, I'm surrounded by a sea of Mohawks. It's like the movie Animal House when they walk in, and Otis Day and the Knights are playing. He goes, Otis, my man, and it's just they're the only white guys in there, and everybody looks at them like that's how I felt. And sure enough, I'm standing at the edge of the mosh pit, and I'm sticking out like a sore thumb. It doesn't take someone long. And finally, some punk rocker with studs, they used to sharpen their studs when they would come into shows, by the way, because we would get basic pat downs and stuff. Mm-hmm. And what people would do to sneak weapons in is they would have those studded bracelets, but they would maybe sharpen one or two of the studs. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I would get past security. Well, some guy smashes me, and I actually get cut in two places. Under the arm, which I don't know, and then right by the neck.
Damn.
And I don't even know. I thought I just got punched, because I was standing by the circle pit, and I'm like, oh, finally someone took a shot at me, sure enough. And I reached down, my hands just covered in blood. And I'm like, wow, the venue's really dark, but I can still see my hands covered in blood. How bad is this? I kind of start freaking out, and I turn red. And this is where kind of Mean Dan came out, where I eyeball the guy who got me, well, I hope I got the right guy now that I think about this. This was past 10 years ago, so I can legally say this. So I'm eyeballing this guy coming around. It's a circle pit, it's going. It goes counterclockwise. You know which way it's going to go. So I'm like, I'm not just going to hit this guy. I'm going to hit this guy with the hardest thing I can. And I came from Taekwondo and karate. I'm like, well, what's the most powerful kick? Well, it's the wheel kick, right? Terry Edom versus Edson Barbosa. And especially when you can time a guy right. It just generates so much force. We saw Junior Dos Santos knock out Mark Hunt with it. And that one didn't even catch clean. That was JDS's calf, and it knocked out Mark Hunt. That's how powerful this kick is. Well, I got this guy in the neck. And I know this because if you're throwing a spin kick properly, whether it's a spin side kick or a wheel kick, you got to look over your shoulder to see your target before you hit it. And I got this guy in the neck, but I threw myself out of position. It's a slippery venue. And I start falling to the ground. And the little relief that I got knowing I hit my target immediately dissipated because I realized I'm going to a vulnerable place, which is the cement floor, and all the punk rockers have noticed, Bloody Dan Tom throwing spin kicks. Yeah, I kind of went noticed there, and they descend on me like walkers from The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And this is like a takeaway from a movie you always love, The Bronx Tale. I felt like, Now You Can't Leave. I felt like the biker on the ground, it's that classic Scorsese shot, the POV, you're getting stomped on.
Did you try and pull a BJ Penn and get the blood and just start licking it and say, come on, let's bring it?
Well, no, all I could do is I shelled up, and I kind of started shrimping, and because instead of, middle-aged Italian men with loafers stomping me, these are like virile, punk-rocking young guys with steel-toed Doc Martin boots. So I'm just, throwing up my defenses, but next thing I know, I'm actually not taking too much damage down there, and next thing I know, I start seeing the punk rockers fall to the left of me, to the right of me, and now instead of boots, I start seeing my friend's shoes, and I'm like, hey, there's Danny's Asics. Oh, there's Josh's Nikes. And it's my friends. They came to the rescue like those Lord of the Rings movies where they come in last minute. Yep, they drag me out of the pit. We take the side exit out of the door before security can get to me. And, I go to a Walgreens like Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men, all bloody. And
all the references.
Yeah, I got boot marks on my clothes, on my skin. There's blood coming down from my neck. And then, I remember buying.
I would say it was 10-9 punk rocker because he got you with the cuts.
Yeah.
And then you came back with did you knock him out?
A spotter later told me not only did I hit him in the neck, but he got drug out after that. He wasn't.
So
moving.
maybe 10-8. Dan Tom wins. You said you lost.
I pulled a Darren Elkins on him, but then his whole team just 10-7 me.
Oh,
on the
I
floor.
see. I see.
So I mean, granted, it was like there was a group of them, granted, but
that's a good story, man.
Yeah, and I was on the losing end, but it's one where I can look back and I think I was laughing at it by the end of the night. The Del Taco parking lot, we were just laughing at it and stressing my wounds.
How many nights have ended with Del Taco, right? Or fast food. I guess on the East Coast, it's what's the name of that spot? The little burgers, the
White Castle.
White Castle.
Yeah.
What kind of fast food is there in Miami? Is it the Cuban?
That's a tough question because I don't really eat.
You don't eat fast food at all?
No,
really?
Not at all.
You don't like American cuisine?
I mean, I used to, but then I started to, see the other side of it, and that it's not,
So you don't have a favorite burger?
No, I'm vegan now.
Oh, you're vegan?
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I try not to say this out loud because there's a lot of bullying.
Or you break his heart right now.
Yeah.
When you say something like that, but yeah.
Well, how long have you been a vegan?
So it's a long process. When I moved to the U.S., I started to hear like a lot of stuff, about the food, and I was freaking out. So I was only eating fish. And then I realized, that some of the fish, if it's not wild catch, it's not really, really good for you. So I stopped eating fish, and then I became like vegetarian. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I have lactose intolerance. So I was just eating the eggs and, pretty much what it's on the nature. and then after a while, I stopped with the eggs and then the vegan. Probably since last year, I guess, October, yeah.
Okay. Did you have a favorite burger before you became a vegan? Cheeseburger. But from where? Like a particular restaurant?
Yeah, like Burger King and McDonald's were always super famous in Brazil.
And Bob's too, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever go to Bob's?
In Brazil is actually good. I don't know what it is.
I didn't like Bob's.
It's really good. And I remember I used to tell my my sisters, saying that my life was divided before and after they launched Big Mac, because I remember they there was this song saying that it was like 2 buns and the burger and lettuce and this famous sauce, and like that's all I wanted to eat.
I remember that song.
That's all I
Portuguese
wanted
version?
to eat. I know the Portuguese version.
Do you? Can you sing it for us?
Yeah. It's like 2 hambúrgueres, alface, queijo molho especial, cebola picos e pão com gergelim. É Big Mac.
Well, that didn't really ring a bell for me, but I think 2 slice quarter pound and
Yeah,
do you remember?
It's pretty much the same
thing.
Yeah.
Right, Jay?
Similar cadence there.
I forget,
Well, here's perfect middle ground, and Richard Hunter from Phone Booth Fighting will appreciate it. He always raves about this place on his podcast called Doomies, because Richard Hunter, he works in the media. He's a vegan too, and he swears like In-N-Out's like one of the most popular burger places out here. People go crazy for it, right? But you only can get it, I believe, in the West Coast of the United States. Well, Doomies is very similar to In-N-Out, their burger, and I'm an In-N-Out fan, and we can talk about it. But honestly, as big as In-N-Out is, and people go crazy about it. Me and my girlfriend both went to Doomies on Richard's advice, and we ate it. It was amazing. It's in California. I'll if you want, I'll give you the address after this
please.
if there's ever a show there. But it was amazing. Like all their food was just like, even Frank Mir, heavyweight fighter, UFC heavyweight fighter Frank Mir went and ate there, and he's not a vegan at all, and he was like me, where we preferred the vegan burger over the real burger, and we are like burger guys, meat guys, not vegan at all. But this place was super legit. So there's the free shout out to Doomies and Richard Hunter.
Well, where is it?
It's somewhere in L.A. I forget. It was probably 45 minutes from Irvine, because we were from Irvine. We were driving from Irvine when we went on the way out, and it added about an extra hour to our trip, but it was completely worth it. We were just so full. It was amazing.
Speaking of, when Luciana was talking about, am I getting the music? Oh, when Luciana was talking about seafood, somebody asked the other day the difference between salmons, and I actually got a response from a listener, and I was waiting for the right time to bring it up. I think it had to do with king salmon and Atlantic salmon. But he says, Jim from North Carolina says, raised salmon is garbage, is what he says. King salmon is from the left coast, usually from Washington to Alaska. Having fished for kings as a kid, they are bigger and, in my opinion, taste better. Atlantic salmon are smaller and don't quite have the flavor of king salmon. Also, wild caught, everything is better than farm raised, and that part I knew. But yeah, somebody brought that up the other day, and I hung on to that text. So I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So how many years total? How many years have you been a vegan now?
Not years. It's
9?
actually months. Since
Oh, months.
probably October. Yeah, I was being vegetarian for probably, let me see, since 2015. And then last year, I made the transition to the vegan.
So no more fogo de chao.
No.
No more
Just
Texas
the
de
vegetables.
Brazil.
Just the vegetables.
Just the
and-
vegetables?
And salad.
Do you miss it?
You know, sometimes in the beginning when I was, smelling, because the taste and in your brain is like, you smell it and you remember the taste and you're like, oh my God, I need this. But then after a while, I was like, I don't need this anymore. So I can sit next to you and you're eating meat and I'm eating my stuff and it's all fine.
It's not a problem.
No.
Well, it sounds like Lou's doing about it the right way, though, because a lot of people, like, 'cause I have a lot of vegan friends, so I kind of got educated through them.
Yeah.
And it has to be even, a steady process. And, it's obviously been a while since I've had to cut weight or compete. But one of the things I would do when I would get closer to it, I would never eat meat before training or heavy workout sessions because I felt the difference of having, going off of, greens. And if I'm using carbs, complex carbs, healthy carbs, not, very limited, but like fruits, healthy fats. And, but if you go kind of hardcore right away, I see people burn out, and it almost can be unhealthy. There's a lot of the process to go to it gradually.
Yeah,
so.
it's hard. I remember last year I tried for a couple of times, and then I went back eating omelets because it's hard, especially when you're going out and you're having a dinner with your friends. Now, luckily, we are having more and more options, even at the supermarket. But I remember, a couple of years ago, it was really, really hard. So I was always going back and forth to it. And then the end of the last year, I was like, okay, I guess I'm done with it. And then I started to, I'm actually have a nutritionist in Brazil helping me with that right now because it's really easy to get some nutritional deficiency when you're going to this kind of, diet. So I don't want to have, any health problems because of it. So I'm doing it with the help of a professional.
Nice.
Very cool. Also, there is a Bellator happening this weekend. One of the best fighters in the world, Eduardo Dantas, Bellator's bantamweight champ. He defends his belt against Leandro Higo, and John Teixeira is also on that card against Daniel Weichel. That should be a good fight. That's in Budapest, Hungary, and it happens on April 14th, so tomorrow. So you can watch it on Spike at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Definitely don't want to let that one go by because that's one of my favorite divisions is the bantamweight. And Dantas is a really good fighter. And, of course, this weekend the big fight card is UFC on Fox 24, Demetrius Johnson versus Wilson Hayes. So, Luciana, what brings you to town, first of all?
I have a couple of things to do. It was my birthday on Saturday, and I was like...
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. So there was this show. It's Backstreet Boys, judge me. I wanted to see. It's kind of a teenager memory, And I knew they were doing this show, and I was like, oh well, I don't know if when I go back to Las Vegas they will be doing this because I saw they were going to do it until July. And I don't want to miss it, so I was like, you know what? I want to do it. I'm going, and so I came in, and then I got in touch with you guys and said, hey, I'm in town because I remember the last time we couldn't, and then obviously I enjoyed the time to go to the UFC facilities and talk to them.
Did you go to the new one?
Yeah.
You went to the new?
No, I know where it is, but
Okay.
I went to the
They're switching soon. I think they're switching this month or next
that's what
month.
I heard.
I drove by it. It
Yeah,
looks
it's
really
nice.
cool.
Yeah, it's huge.
You only worked the events in Brazil, right?
Yeah. So when I started, I was doing only the shows in Brazil. Then I did a few shows here in the U.S. And then last year, I had the opportunity to do the EMA shows. I went to Australia, Croatia, UK, Netherlands, Germany, because I was covering one of the girls. And then, I do the
So the UFC
shows in
allows you to
Brazil.
do other shows.
Yeah, they do. If they, let's say, because they have girls everywhere. I guess it's 12 girls in total. And if they need someone, they obviously it's gonna pick one based on I don't know, location, the language, who knows. So yes, you're allowed to do if they make it happen for you.
Ariane Celeste started doing being a ring card girl around the same time we started doing our show, and she's still going. Like, that's pretty cool because I've known her for a long time now. And it's funny because prior to that, a lot of the Octagon girls had done some tenure, and then they moved on. But I think she did the opposite. She actually made it a career.
Yeah.
You know, she's done very well for herself, and I often wonder if some of the others have regret for not staying with it. You know, so my question to you is, how long do you see yourself doing it?
As long as they want me. What you guys need to understand is obviously this is it's not just an opportunity to watch the fights, because I personally enjoy it. It's the opportunity to travel, which is great, and because you're appearing, your name is being connected to the UFC. Other, job offers are coming. I mean, not job offers, but if you're working as a model, there's always companies trying to get in touch with you in order to work with you, and it's amazing. So with Ariane, I think it's great because you can understand a lot of about what this company is. It's like a family, really, and they treat us really nice. It's not like they are using us as a model, and it's all very classy, and that's why she's doing this for so long, and she's doing a pretty good job because she has all this number of followers in her social media, and she's doing a lot of modeling jobs, and now she's singing. So yeah, it's amazing that UFC gives us the opportunity to do all of this and get in touch with the fans and meet other places. It's just amazing, and while we're doing this, they are kind of managing our careers in a way that if some brand get in touch with them and saying, hey, I want Luciana to work with me, they will obviously make it happen, so it's amazing.
So as long as they'll have you, you're in.
Yeah, as long as
it's
they
been 3 years so
want me.
far, right?
Yeah, since November 2014, so almost 3 years. Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite cities that you visited?
Well, that is a tough question, especially because of last year. I had a great time in London. Great crew. The UFC Europe people are just amazing.
What did you like about London?
It's funny because it was my first time in Europe. That's why I guess I'm so attached to the idea of getting there. I enjoy to be there because everything historic things happen in there, and I was fascinated about just being there, walking the streets and seeing and remembering, oh my God, so this movie happened in here, and it was just important to me because of that. But obviously Hamburg was an amazing city, very beautiful, very organized. And it's not just that. Every time I went to Europe last year, I tried to visit other cities. So let's say when we had the show in Rotterdam, I enjoyed the opportunity to go to Amsterdam, and then I took a train to Paris. And then when we did Hamburg, I went to Copenhagen in Denmark. So it's hard to choose, but I obviously like the shows in Brazil because the UFC fans in Brazil are very passionate. So Rio, it's nice, it's a wonderful city. Curitiba was very special to me because
the
it's
stadium,
my hometown.
the stadium show.
Yeah, it was the first.
That's
show
where you're
in
from?
the stadium. Yeah, I'm from Curitiba. So it was very special. It's hard to pick just one, but yeah, I would say London. And the only reason why I'm not picking Curitiba is because I'm from there, but it was amazing. The show was great.
Man, that stadium show.
Yeah.
If Verdum wins, it would have been a perfect night for Curitiba because Shogun won, Cyborg won.
Yeah.
I forget.
Shogun?
There was one other Curitiba-based fighter. Yeah, Shogun. Who did I say? Shogun. Cyborg, and then Verdum dropped his fight. But there was another Curitiba-based fighter. Stadium show. That's incredible. I don't know what took them so long.
Yeah.
That's the
Anderson
home of
was supposed to fight, but then
against
he
Uriah
had
Hall.
surgery.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember.
I suppose I could look it up on MMA Junkie.
The Vitor and Souza fought that card, 198.
Is that
talking about?
Yeah.
And then Maya and Brown. But
well, no, I'm familiar with the Brazilians that fought there. I'm talking about
who was from
Curitiba. Because that was the home of Shootbox for many years. Shootbox was one of the best teams for a long time,
True.
especially in Pride. And so I knew they had, they were very passionate. I'll tell you what, I'll look it up during the break. We're going to take this break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We have Luciana Andrade, UFC Octagon Girl, here in studio with us, and Dan Tom from Flow Combat. And we'll definitely talk a little bit about UFC on Fox 24, Johnson versus Hayes, which takes place this Saturday in Nashville. Johnson's going for his 10th title defense. If he gets this, he'll tie Anderson Silva. That's an amazing record. All right, folks, give us a few minutes, and we'll be right back after this quick break.
Hello. I know you, Jay.
Danny?
Good, how are you?
What is Danny doing?
Do you work here? Oh, no.
Danny.
We lose it, Danny?
Oh, nice.
Guys, clear.
Oh, were we clear the whole time?
What?
I didn't hear any outgoing music. Were we clear the whole time?
Nice.
You can't hear this?
I can't hear nothing.
Yeah, negative.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Okay, so it went smooth though, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
You can hear it
Now
now,
we can
right?
hear it. Yeah, now we can hear it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's weird. Sorry. It was on my side, so.
Good. Uh-huh, nice. Nice. Good. Good to see you.
It's great to see you too. Yeah, you got my tips that I sent you.
Hopefully my mic wasn't all over the place, Danny, when I was adjusting it a
I
couple
remember
times during
about
that
the
story.
No, it was all right.
I don't know yet. I may have to go to the UFC, but I'm waiting for their confirmation. So.
Hey, George?
George Danny.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just so you know, just like what Ghost was saying, so everything's going out over the commercials.
Okay. Yeah. We're
on-
definitely watching
on live.
ourselves.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to give you a heads up because Aaron was messaging me and saying, hey, we can still hear you. And I was like, I
Okay.
know.
Fire station. Yeah, because that's the hotel UFC always goes because it's near the office.
Just remember the mics are on. So anybody listening now knows where you're staying. So.
All right. It's all right.
Well, just in case, you know.
You know, it's not like it's a secret.
No, but you know, it's funny
security.
because the I think Stephanie, who is a top-ranked boxing, they call them knockouts. Their version of the Octagon Girl. She was saying she'll get like stuff sent to her room. They don't know how they figure out what room number she's in.
Yeah.
But they'll
I'm
get
gonna hit
stuff
the bump,
sent
we'll
to.
be back.
Okay, Danny, sounds good. They'll get stuff sent to their room and stuff like that. So
it's funny.
notes under the door.
It's
So
funny.
I try and be real careful of our
my first
female
show
guests.
here in Vegas. I was.
Listen to
You
the
know,
latest
it's
episode
weird
of this
to, like,
show or the
go
rest of the SiriusXM Rush lineup anytime you want on demand with the SiriusXM app.
Why are you asking me this? You know, and I remember my first show.
In your
here
car,
Vegas,
in your home,
it
and
was
everywhere that
in a
you
fight
go.
between-
This is
first fight between,
SiriusXM Rush
DC
93.
and Anthony
Listen
Johnson.
anytime on the
And I was
SiriusXM app.
going out, and near the elevator, there were like a lot of people, and they kind of recognized me, and I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do? You know, what is going on here?" It was weird, but good. And luckily, the fans are very respectful.
Good.
And so
Yeah.
I never had any issues.
Nobody sent
Usually
anything
she's
to the
really good
room
with-
or messages.
Yeah, but nothing.
Pizza.
Weird.
She gets pizza sent to her. Do you remember, Jay? Who was it?
Clear for
I
tonight.
think was it Stephanie? Somebody was saying that they get stuff sent to their room. For some reason, pizza's a common one. I don't know. And the manager said, "I wouldn't eat it, are you?" She goes, "But I'm hungry,"
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I got
true.
chocolate once. I
Chocolate?
remember in Brazil. What else? Like small gifts, like hats, stuff like that, T-shirts. I remember there was one of, maybe he is actually listening. He's a follower from Twitter, and he made this amazing T-shirts with like lots of small pictures of me. Yeah, and stuff like that. It's actually nice to see how how much effort they put into it. We feel very special. Definitely, they UFC fans, MMA fans, they definitely know how to make us feel special. How to make us feel special.
Guys, back in a minute.
minute?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Yep.
It's fine. No, it's fine.
What happened? Oh, well, yeah,
No,
you
it's
just never
all right.
know.
It's not. It's all right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, nice. You can send it to me. Yeah, please. Okay. Okay. No, you can send it to me later.
How long's first break?
5.
Oh,
We got about a minute left.
okay.
30 seconds.
Gotcha.
Or make it like 30 seconds. Now that I think about it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys, coming back in 10. Stand by.
They are the stretch marks on the underbelly of the MMA community. But hey, stretch marks are the new tats. They are Gorgeous George and Goes.
All right, we're back. We're in studio here with Luciana Andrade, UFC Octagon Girl, and Dan Tom from Flow Combat. Yesterday we had Jimmy Manuwa, Dan. Last minute, he was staying down. He was staying on the other side of the strip, and Junkie Nation helped reel him in because somebody spotted him. I made contact with him. He wasn't sure, and I didn't want to pressure the guest because he was here with his family. So, but then in the morning, Junkie Nation saw it, and they started tweeting, so he was here.
Your bat signal's pretty strong, isn't it, huh?
I was very happy because I think him and Cormier was on the day before.
Yeah.
And so they've been chirping at each other, In Buffalo, after the fight, Cormier was yelling at John Jones and at Jimmy Manuwa. But then backstage they had some words too. So if you missed yesterday's show, catch that because we talk about it. Jimmy talks about what happens backstage. And then also Terrell Fortune, who fights for Bellator, the wrestler, he kind of overheard some stuff about Jimmy and, what he thinks of wrestling, which in no way did he demean wrestling. But, he was saying it's mixed martial arts. It's a important part of mixed martial arts, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And Terrell, of course, as a wrestler, said, I don't know, you better take it serious. And so they had a funny exchange there as well. Organic, not planned one bit, but check it out. All the shows available immediately on Facebook and YouTube, on SiriusXM's On Demand, on SoundCloud, and then, of course, iTunes and Stitcher. So you basically have no excuse not to go back and check it out. Luciana, so how about fighters? Who are your favorite fighters?
Yeah. So I'm going to explain why I don't pick any of them. I respect all the fighters, their families and everything. And sometimes when you say, hey, this is my favorite fighter, sometimes it's taken into the other way. And I think they are, all amazing athletes. They put so much effort into it, when training every single day, doing diets and stuff like that. So I don't have, I don't pick just one. I admire them all. So that's my answer.
But how's it taken?
Political answer.
You said sometimes it's taken the other way. What does that mean?
Because, some people are mean sometimes. If you say, hey, this is my favorite fighter, they are going to say, yeah, she likes him. It's like that.
Okay.
Well,
pick an ugly
so
one.
I don't. No,
pick an unattractive
I don't
one.
pick anyone because I think they're all amazing. I watch the fights. Even when I'm not working, I watch the fights. So, yeah, I have fun. I enjoy them and I admire them. Yeah.
Okay. How about what are some of your favorite fights? Can you say that? Or
I remember this fight between Robbie Lawler and what is the name of the other guy? It was during the fight week.
Rory McDonald?
Yes, it was amazing. I loved that fight. Because I was in London, I remember this fight between...
Wait a minute. Do you like Rory McDonald and Robbie? No, I'm just kidding. All right, what was the other one?
So I remember this fight because I was there. I was working in the fight between Anderson and Michael Bisping, and it was very confusing
That
for
was a
us.
good
We
fight.
didn't know. Okay, so the fight, it's over. What is it? And then Carly was like, "No, I think it's still on." And I remember I just thought it was like good to stay in there. What else?
That's when the mouthpiece fell out, right? And then Anderson, boom, kicked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember who had the round 4 card? Because that was round 3 going into 4. Who was number 4?
Yeah, it was Carly.
It was Carly? Oh, okay.
I was like, oh, I'm so glad because I thought it was actually over. And she was like, no, I'm going anyway. And I was like, good, go there, girl. And let me see. We always Cyborg in Curitiba was nice.
Yeah.
So many fights, since November 2014, so many fights. But I remember this one, Robbie Lawler. I was like, I was sitting, because we have the best seats in the house.
Right.
And one of the girls, like one blood, blood dropped on her leg because of that fight, and we were like, what? And one of the photographers told me like he had blood on his camera too. It was like amazing. I love that fight.
Yeah, that was an awesome fight. How often do you get to do non-Brazilian shows? Just UFC though.
Yeah. So last year it was pretty much every 2 months. It depends a lot of the schedule. This year it's a little bit a no for me because I couldn't go to Fortaleza because I applied for my green card and it was approved.
Oh, I keep thinking, you have to go that way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for my work and
You don't have
travel.
dual citizenship or?
No, after 5 years you can do it.
So you have to get a green card to work, right? Or
yeah, or you can have a work visa, which I used to have, back in the old days. But now, I'm waiting for my work and travel authorization, so that way I can start maybe doing shows here and go back to the other shows. Because to me, it's kind of easier. As a Brazilian, I have free entrance, in the countries in South America and Latin America, even Europe. And now with this new agreement between Canada and Brazil, I can also get into, Canada without needing a visa. So it's, but it's always obviously an UFC decision. I hope they pick me for more and more fights. But yeah, that's how it works.
Interesting, man. Best seats in the house.
Yeah.
Get to travel.
Yeah.
Not a bad gig.
Can't complain.
I like
It's
how
awesome.
she kind of said they have that team format where, I don't know about you, George, when she said there's 12 of them around the world, I immediately got like a flashback to those Jason Bourne movies where they start activating the agents, and we've got a show here.
It's great. I mean, like I said, last year I was, passing through, I don't know, maybe 11 countries. And because I was working in those cities, I could, plan my vacations with advance. And it was great. I cannot complain. And you know what? The MMA fans are the best fans. I always say that. It doesn't matter where you go. I was in Germany, and there was this girl. She came from India, and she tried to learn a little bit of Portuguese just to speak with me. And I thought that was awesome. She even brought me this it's kind of like a book, so I could sign it. I thought it was very cute. So yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. You're able to meet other places and get familiar to other cultures and food. And yeah, at that time I wasn't totally vegan, so I was enjoying it a little bit more.
Did you have a hamburger in Hamburg?
No.
No?
No.
Were you a vegan by then?
Not vegan, but vegetarian.
Oh, vegetarian. Okay.
Yeah.
What the heck was I was just going to ask you something. I lost my train of thought.
No schnitzel in Hamburg.
No schnitzel.
No, yeah. Wow. I'm going on the no list now.
I know. If you were to go back and practice law, what branch of law would you be interested in?
Immigration. Yeah. I think it's something really, people are talking more and more about it right now. I usually say that, with this, this new government, and it's very important to stand up. Some people, they don't know their rights, so I would like to to help with that.
Yeah, no, that'd be a good one, especially now.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of
stuff going on.
Exactly. Some people got cut off from entering altogether, and
yeah, it's very sensitive
getting political will be a
Yeah.
long road if we start
Yeah.
down that
It's
road.
a very sensitive issue. Obviously there are rules, and people need to respect the law. You're coming to other place, other country. You need to follow their rules. But obviously, I can't help to feel bad for some people who are living here for so long, and maybe they don't have the opportunity some people have, to actually have a work visa, or they are trying to do the right thing, but because they made a mistake in the past, they are not able to do it, to fix it right now. So yeah, I would like to help in that area. I think it's a very sensitive issue. I respect all the opinions here and there, because I think they are both right in some way. But yeah.
Can you share your street fight story with us?
What? Sorry.
Do you have a good street fight story to share with
A
us?
street fight story? Yeah. So when he was telling his story, I was remembering of this. When I was in school, there was
this in
always,
Curitiba?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was always some girl trying to be out of me, right? So, because I had straight hair or whatever, and I was always, living in the fear zone, because there was always, I'm going to catch you, after the class. And I was like, oh, my God.
Was this what age were you?
All
High school?
ages.
Really?
Ages. There was always someone. There was always this big girl trying to beat me. I don't know why.
Can you tell us how she would how she would talk to you in Portuguese, threaten you in Portuguese? What do they say?
It would be something. Do you want me to translate to
No,
English?
say it in Portuguese.
Okay, vou te pegar na saída.
That doesn't sound too mean.
Yeah, because I'm saying in a nice way.
Say it mean though, like threatening.
Eu vou te bater. Yeah, I can say it, because I would
That
never
means I'm gonna
do
cut
that
you in
to
half or
someone,
something like
but anyway, so obviously, there was always this, fear, and I was this threatening, happening, and I was always depending on the help of my friends, to make this, to isolate me in a way that nobody could catch me. But I remember one day, obviously, I was, this would happen one time or another. It would.
Okay.
I was in high school, and there was this girl. She liked this boy. And the boy kind of liked me, but I didn't like the boy. She was just mad at me, and I was like, "Wow, what can I do?"
The girl liked the boy, and the boy liked you.
I didn't even like the boy. So I was walking through this huge patio in the school, and I saw my friends right across the patio, and they were doing signs, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going there," and they were like, "No," and I was like, I wasn't understanding what was going on, and I was walking, and this girl was crossing me, and she's like, bang, right into my face.
Wow.
And I was like, it took me a while to actually understand what was going on. And then I realized they were trying to warn me. So she's going to,
She's going to hit you.
Yeah, she's going to hit you. And I was like, oh my God. So when I realized what was going on, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. I need to protect myself.
Right.
And I don't know, it was really fast. I just grabbed, the girl's hair and pulled her, and we were in the ground. It was like girls fight, And then some guys came in and tried to separate us, and then I was kicking her, and I don't know. And then obviously we had to go to the director room, and it was, yeah. But
did you get any shot? Was it just hair pulling at that point, or did you hit her?
It was like a bunch of things, because I was trying to, what is wrong with you? You just hit me. I wasn't expecting. Because I was ignoring her. So when I saw she was coming, but I would never, guess she would do that to me. So I was walking, and I was looking to my girls,
Wow.
And if I knew that, I would probably do something, but I didn't. So it was like she caught me, she just surprised me.
Did you guys get in trouble?
Yeah, she was, I was just defending myself.
Mm-hmm.
She was, and she was tiny.
Really?
Yeah.
And so she got suspended, but you got to go to school, no problem?
Yeah, I got suspended too, but.
Did you ever see her again? And
yeah, because we were in the same class for 3 years.
And it was all good after that, or was there any round two?
Then she apologized. I mean, she was forced to, but it was like, oh my God, what is wrong?
No
with
round
this girl?
two?
She was. It's funny. She was kind of a rebel. She was like dyeing her hair, using blue colors here, and she was like, she thought she was a witch at the time, and it was like she was pretty mean.
A witch? Wow.
Yeah, she was pretty mean, and well, but she caught me out of guard. But
You should have brought her a
I
broom as a
defended
peace
myself.
offering.
She had like a cut in her mouth the other day. I remember.
I was gonna say I was looking at her nails when she was telling that story. I was like, Lou probably has
You
a
see her
mean
nail?
tiger claw. I get him.
Yeah.
You have big nails?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Not super big, but yeah.
I was saying you should have brought her a broom as a peace offering.
Oh, yeah.
If she wants to be a
There we
witch,
go.
right?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our last break. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. We will be talking in the second hour with Ryan Stoddard from Victory Fighting Championships, and Dan and I will also be cutting it up as far as Demetrius Johnson versus Wilson Hayes, Jacare Souza versus Robert Whitaker, another good fight. And don't forget the ladies are getting down. Rose Namajunas and Michelle Watterson. That one could have some serious implications because if Gadelia and Kovalkiewicz, someone lays an egg in Brazil, then trust me, man, one of these ladies could sidestep. All right, we'll be right back after this break. Stay close.
It's so funny. After years, this girl found me on Facebook. I'm afraid of a man. Like, so remember that fight? And she was like, yeah, girl stuff. And I was like, yeah, for you.
That's funny, man.
I'm afraid of America.
Guys are clear.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Maybe, I don't know. I really don't know what it was because I always had lots of friends, but there were always like one girl from another class or something that she wanted to beat me, to hit me. Yeah. It's funny.
That's bullying.
Fun time.
Right there.
Yeah. We didn't even know what bullying was at that time. Nobody was speaking about it, Nobody.
She liked to pick on you.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing, I wasn't even interested in that boy.
In the boy?
Not at all. Not at all.
I bet you the boy was running around saying, both chicks are fighting
Yeah,
over me.
they're fighting because of me. Yeah. And I was like, right. It was a big thing. I remember it was this huge school, and everybody was talking about it. And I was like, damn it.
And somebody brought it up to you just now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Guys, back in a minute.
Yeah. That was the only episode, the other times it was just, somebody telling they would do, oh, hey, I'm going to hit you, but this was, yeah.
One time, it was similar to what Dan was going through in the sense like punk rock and
Uh-huh.
growing up in a room saying like
Yeah.
in our class because it was just a
Uh-huh.
small school, so you basically went to school with every person unless they stayed
Uh-huh.
in school for 8 years.
Whoa.
So one of them said,
Guys, back in 30.
Say like rap or do you like heavy rock? And I'm like, I like both. And he says, no, you gotta choose. And then when I chose one way, we got into a fight at the school. And they told me to meet in the boys' bathroom. And we got it on for sec, but
Yeah.
at the time, when you're little kids, you're
All right, guys. Coming up at 10.
Uh-huh.
Stand by.
Yeah.
no technique on it.
Yeah, true. Yeah, my sister, I remember she's 4 years older than me. And there was this boy.
Here we go. We're coming back. Can you raise your mic a little, please?
Yeah.
There you go.
They are the Wright brothers of mixed martial arts. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right, we're back. I'm hearing something here. I love the street. Tell me about your sister. What happened? Can you share that or no? Is that private?
No, I can.
How big is your family? How many brothers and
I
sisters?
have 2 sisters. I'm the middle child.
Okay. Do they live in Brazil or here in
Yeah, they live in Brazil.
Brazil?
Yeah.
All right. So one of them had a problem too.
Yeah. She's also a lawyer. And it was her birthday too on Saturday. We are not twins, but we have the same birthday date. So there was this boy in her class. He was always, teasing her, and calling her Pocahontas, and she hated it. So he was always Pocahontas, Pocahontas, and one day she just punched the guy in the face.
Your sister?
And the guy, yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
the guy fell off, and the kid, because they were both kids. And I remember they called to my dad, and he said, "Okay, so something serious happened. We need you to come here." And my dad was like, "What is wrong?" Blah blah blah. Because my dad was very tough, when we were kids. Now he is very soft, but in the past it was hard. So he went there, and when they told him what happened, he was very proud of her. He was like, "Yeah, my girl."
Right.
Yeah, she did that. She knocked the kid out.
Yeah. All right. That sounds cool. Somebody was asking me here, how did you learn English?
By myself.
By yourself?
Yeah. So
Just
back in Brazil.
reading?
Yeah, because my parents, they didn't have, money to, in Brazil, it was, difficult times. It still is. So when I was a kid, I wanted to learn English, but my parents, they didn't have the money to, afford that, a private teacher or even sending me to those English schools. So what I always did is I always enjoyed watching, TV shows and listening American music. So I was always trying to make the connection between what I was listening to what I was reading, and it's weird, how it works in my brain. But to me, it was very easy to actually start to understand. And I don't know, some people are very good with math. I'm very good with language, I think.
Do you speak any others?
Yeah, I mean Spanish. And because Portuguese and Spanish and Italian are very similar, I kind of understand. Sometimes I like for Italian, for example, I have a hard time, talking, but I can understand when I'm, sometimes when I'm listening, sometimes when I'm reading. And it's just, I don't know, it's something natural.
What cities do you want to visit?
Okay. So the word is very big. I want to go to Spain and Italy. That's my, my next goals, travel goals. I want to go to Rome. I want to go to Vaticano.
The Vatican.
Vatican, yeah. Madrid, and maybe do a tour around Europe, because Switzerland I want to go. Yeah, South America. I don't know. I just like to travel so much. And yeah, but I would say, because I already went to Paris and London, and I want to go to Milan, Venezia.
Madrid
cool.
and Rome I can speak for. Great cities.
Yeah.
Great cities. Especially
You been there, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll leave you with this because we have to close up this first hour. Thank you so much for stopping by,
Thank
Luciana.
you, guys.
So I'm going to try singing to you now. Here it goes. To all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. I think that's the one you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
Thank you to Phil for putting that out there. And
Yeah.
I'm sure I butchered the song, but it went something like that, and there you have it.
That's the English version.
But
it's pretty
the
much
ship
same.
sailed on you having burgers. No more burgers, huh?
No,
you don't think you'll ever?
unless it's vegan.
If I pull out $10,000 right now, I go eat this burger. Would you do it?
No, I don't.
Really?
No, because that's the thing. I started to watch all those documentaries about food industry and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my god, I just can't. And I have those two tiny dogs that I love so much, and I was like, how can I eat one animal and love them? It's just a conflict inside of me.
All
I
right.
can't do it anymore.
Fair enough. Folks, follow her on Twitter at Luciana Andrade. Same goes for Instagram.
Yeah.
And Dan and I will be back in the second hour to talk about UFC on Fox 24. And we'll also talk to Ryan Stoddard from Victory Fighting Championships. Thanks again, Luciana.
Okay, thank you,
All right,
guys.
folks, and we'll see you in a couple minutes. Stay close. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on SiriusXM, Rush 93.
If you see it once, you'll never be the same again.
Thank you, guys. Love it.
I'm gonna keep on the run. I'm gonna have me some fun. It cost me my very last dime. If I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. I'm gonna give it up.
Guys, clear?
All right, I'll send you. I'm going to figure out if Ryan's calling in or not, but if not, I'll send you his number, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I just asked you that on text.
Yeah, I think I'll send it to you anyway.
Okay.
All right. Huh? No, that's why you left. Okay, cool. I don't have my phone. All right, thank you.
it's well done, it's always great. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Luciana, can we do a picture with you before you leave? Right here. Put you in the middle of Dan and I. One more. Gangster. I want you to be really mean, okay? No smiling.
Okay. Give some attitude. Okay. 3, 2,
No smiling.
I'll do one more. Now get serious again. Oh, you're even grinning. That's even. I don't know how to breathe. No, you're grinning like, yeah. Like, yeah. That's cool. Alright, cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was really nice for you to stop by, okay?
Do you want to sign your guest book?
Yeah,
Thank you very
please.
much. Thank you so much.
I'll get it.
Thank you.
Hold on, they're going to have you sign their guest book.
Could you sign our guest book? Yeah.
That's why I almost fell. My shoes are untied. Looks like fella. Good picture.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
And my breakfast is vegan 6 days out of the week. That hasn't changed. That hasn't changed since competition days.
I have, all I had this morning was oatmeal. Oatmeal with hemp seed and flaxseed and chia seeds.
Yeah, I think it's so weird the way they do oatmeal here.
Yeah.
It's like a soup. It's just.
Oh yeah, but no, because they overbuilt it. You don't. I mean, I think you can.
But it doesn't feel like that. I just don't. I can't eat it. I have a problem with the texture.
Oh, the other thing too specifically today is the 15th.
It is the 13th. Yeah, I do like just.
You there, Danny?
I was gonna eat bad later.
Yep.
Okay. We still have time.
Okay. Kale, parsley, cucumber, pineapple, blueberry, banana, and protein, coconut oil, coconut water, a little bit of pink salt.
Thanks, Jay.
And that's it. 32 ounces.
Danny, are we a minute early?
No, I was doing it. I was trying to distract Dan Tom from having a
Oh, I
conversation.
see. There's Ryan's number.
Do you want me to call him, or do you
If he
wanna
doesn't
wait?
call in the first couple, call him, right?
Okay.
All right, cool.
We have Hal on hold. If you want to go to him, I'll call him.
Perfect.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Come back at 30.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
You can hear when you whisper.
Actually, coconut water shake done wonders.
Wow.
It's yeah. You can get a case of it now over at Costco. Like you can get like 9 liters for like $12.
All right, guys. Coming up at 10. Stand by.
Alrighty. It's great meeting you, Lou. Have a safe trip.
Bye. Thanks for calling us, sir. It was
Later,
fun.
Jay.
All right, it's the second hour of the MMA Junkie Radio Show. Luciana Andrade. I heard her say Andrade, but then the other one's Jenny Andrade, so I'm not sure. I should have gotten clarification.
Yeah, me too.
What they prefer. She's now living in the United States, so maybe she just prefers to go with Andrade. I don't know. I've always known that last name to be Andrade, but then I heard Andrade a few times with not just Jenny, but another.
Jessica, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right, Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, I think they cultivated me over to that. I've been going by Andrade, but yeah, we should get clarification if there's a double or we're just missing it.
Oh, there's a double. Yeah.
Okay. All right, there's a double.
But anyway, we are going to be talking to Ryan Stoddard from Victory Fighting Championships. We spoke with one of the main eventers yesterday, but we'll have Ryan touch on a few of the other fights aside from the main event, which features Robert Emerson and Raytheon Stotts. Let's see here. Who's this?
Nice.
Goes?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We took care of that.
Cool.
Yeah. I think we're all good. All right. Goes is putting out a fire, so I'm kind of running things here for the next few minutes. We are going to be talking about UFC on Fox 24, but let's take this phone call here from Hal in Chicago, and then we'll open up that window, and then we'll also save the window for Ryan Stoddard's appearance. Remember, that's Friday, Victory Fighting Championships 56 on the UFC Fight Pass. Hal from Chicago, what's up?
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How you doing, Dan?
What's up, Hal? Good,
What's up,
man.
Protect your neck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You don't have much. You don't have much of a neck, though, do you?
No.
Hey, was that Jenny Andrade? Was it in the studio?
No, that was Luciana Andrade.
Oh, okay. All right.
They are not related. But how about Luciana and her sister? Same birthdays.
That was crazy, yeah.
That means there was a certain time that the mom and dad are like, this is our night right here, you
That's
know.
right, yeah.
Go back
Pretty
9-10 months, and it was on there. Similar to Goes and I. Continue, Hal.
Hey, I know I've been busting balls a little bit lately, but some of the callers, but that's just because you're family guys. You know, all you new guys that haven't called in, it's just like Marco said the other day. Don't be scared, homie. Just call in. Look at Marco. He was terrible at first. Now look at him. He's not only terrible on Junkie Radio, he's terrible at Luke Thomas Show. He's terrible on Sherdog. He's terrible on the Cheap Seats Fight Club. Shut now. So don't give up, guys. Hey, about Bellator, do you think these guys are really they're getting like, you know, Phil Davis talking about $70,000, $100,000 per fight, but they fight like once a year. And one thing with the UFC, they stay busy. There's like 30 shows. So the chance of you getting bonuses is there. And I don't know. Do you think it's mostly that guys are just tired of being just another number, and it's more of an ego thing? Like, I put in my years, and now it's time that I get my name on the banner. You know, I get people coming to me for autographs and that kind of stuff. I'll take it off the air. Take care, guys.
See how. Yeah, that's a good point about the bonuses.
Yeah.
If you're traditionally a bonus machine like Lausanne or Cowboy, you know, you probably would have to let Bellator know, hey, listen, man, I've shown consistency. I'm not sure how many bonuses Phil Davis or Ryan Bader got along the way, but I think a lot of it just boils down to pride. Lorenz Larkin said he liked the way he was treated during the negotiations.
Yeah.
He said the word wanted. He felt wanted. You know, he left on a good streak with the UFC, so there wasn't no ill feelings towards like, oh, well, they cut me, now I'm going to cut them down, you know, in a public forum. It wasn't anything like that. He left, you know, his last fight was a win. It was over Neil Magny. It's just I think he expected a certain number. When they didn't do it, I don't know how cold the negotiations become, but somebody else opens their arms and maybe he's going to give you the immediate title shot like what he's getting against Douglas Lima. It could be that that's just what you want, a little bit of respect, a little bit of love. You know, come here. Here's an embrace.
Yeah.
Come on over here and be a part of this family. It could boil down to just that, not just dollars and cents.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the amenities that Bellator is offering, I don't think you can argue at this point. I mean, it became an argument, and now it's definitely an argument, you know. But besides that, it's kind of fitting that Hal brings that up because, yeah, I think you're right, George. There is a psychology to it, right? I mean, not only are there options, right, as far as these amenities of sponsorships or, you know, different numbers, different roads, promotions, and pathways that Bellator offer, but, yeah, there's a little bit of that psychology to where not only, you know, do you feel like, you know, we all feel like we deserve better to a certain extent maybe, and when you have an actual lane to vent that, an actual competitor to go to, another table to negotiate at, then, yeah, I think whether it's subtle, like you said, you know, a lot of fighters did it respectfully, but I think, you know, media members and fans alike, we can all sense a little bit of that little bit of that twang or taste to it, right? I don't know if I'm using the right
Yeah.
word there, but there's a little bit something there extra, right?
And I'll tell you what, if you treat your body like a temple, and for the most part, you train hard, you get your rest, and you're in this for the long run. Take a look at how Dan Henderson did it. He won a couple tournaments, he won a tournament, a couple fights in the UFC. Transitioned to Pride and became a superstar there. Won 2 belts in 2 different weight classes. Came to the UFC, competed for a belt, left the UFC, went to Strikeforce, won a belt, and still came back to the UFC and was this close to winning yet another belt. Now, granted, he may be an anomaly because that career was so long, but it could be that a couple of these guys break away, they gain new fans, maybe compete for a belt, and then they always feel like I can still come back and close up shop. Andrei Arlovsky did it. Anthony Johnson did it as well. They didn't have as much successes outside like Dan Henderson, but still, they did it.
Well, call me crazy. You know what I'm almost more excited for than that, George, is the new crop of what this options. In other words, that not only, yes, we have the options of guys at different stages of their career, whether they're veterans, legends, or just, guys looking for their contendership in their spot like Lorenz Larkin. But think about all the young guys coming up, meaning one of the more kind of hardcore, maybe more minority arguments out there with the whole new wave of, UFC changings is the matchmaking. And we're seeing a lot of guys, and maybe, some of it might be stubbornness on their own, like the Chris Weidman, I only want to fight the best. But we're seeing guys, whether it's the BJ Penns or these older veterans kind of get pushed into matches, they shouldn't be in, or you get the Bisping and, kind of thing. And there's a lot of complaints on the matchups, and a lot of these young guys even are kind of getting pushed a little too fast on the lower scale. I don't think a lot's being paid attention to that. So I'm wondering these younger guys who come off these regional scenes, they're going to go to the Bellators, they're going to get offered maybe more money, than to start off with the UFC standard deal. If they do well, Bellator, Scott Coker's good about developing new talent. They're good about getting these high-end guys. That's making the headlines. But don't make no mistake, they're still developing. They're still trying to develop their next Chandlers. So if you're a new guy going to Bellator, you're going to get that treatment. You're going to get more money. And in career trajectory-wise, probably a little healthier, right, to face maybe these more guys, get your money, get your experience, then go to the UFC instead of going backwards, right?
Yeah. Marlon Moraes may be able to cash in on something like that if they can ever figure that out. He's been a free agent for a while now. All right. Now joining us on the show is the big man over at Victory Fighting Championships. He cuts up checks if you finish. That's his way of doing things. It's Ryan Stoddard. What's up, Ryan? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you guys?
Good. Welcome back to MMA Junkie Radio. I got Dan Tom from Flow Combat here with me. Goes says hello. He had to step out for just a second, but nonetheless, we are excited to have you. Boy, I'll tell you, we had Rob Emerson on yesterday. He's licking his chops. He was starting to get a little restless. I wouldn't be shocked if he started pushing Rafion Stotts around the hotel in the next couple of days before the fight.
He's definitely ready to rock and roll, man. He's I heard you guys talking about these prospects and these veterans and individuals that are in fights that maybe they shouldn't be this or anything else because they hit a certain point in their career. But you look at a guy like Rob who's been around the sport forever. He's in a position where I really believe he's hitting his stride as an athlete right now. Similar to the former UFC welterweight champion. Robbie Lawler.
Right.
Individuals like that who just towards the tail end of their career, they just hit that stride where they're performing better than ever. He believes he's there. I can't. It's hard to argue with him because of the way he's fighting, and he feels very disrespected that an individual like Rafion thinks he's going to come in and make his name off of Rob. And I don't know that if I've ever anticipated a more violent fight than that one Friday night.
Tell me about it. I mean, that's how I described Victory. Was you found a nice mix of veterans and also the up and comers, that you've kind of groomed, and just the main event highlights that because we've spoken to Rafion. We're excited about how he's handling his career. Really, really good interview that he gave us. But man, some of the highlights I've seen from this guy. Now I know why you're hyped up for him because he's going to be a great talent in the sport. And Rob Emerson, like you said, I mean, to be able to do what he did at this age in 2 different divisions, good on him too.
No, for sure. And last year after it really, this event is 14 weeks. It's a culmination of 14 months of hard work. From our first broadcast to now going into our 10th broadcast. we've been able to cultivate and grow our own stars and build these storylines. I mean, that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. I mean, unless you're really the UFC or Bellator, it's hard to just put fights together that entertain people or excite people, because they have a connection to those individuals. Versus us, we have to build that connection. We have to build that storyline. We have to introduce them to you, grow them in front of you, and make you want to watch them. And now we're at a point where you have an individual in Rafian who made his debut on our first broadcast for us, and fought for us 4 times last year. Got 4 big wins, including one over Jeff Kern in the main event of our November show last year, and then rolls right into a main event slot against a guy like Rob Emerson. I mean, the kid's poised to go to that next step, but Rob is genuinely not having it, and we've been able to build an actual storyline, and you have that story arc that is really enticing individuals to tune in, and it makes me very proud because this is what I've wanted the entire time. And we've been very high on Rafian since we signed with him. In fact, I think he was on your guys' show last April after one of his fights, just because I pushed for him to get out in front of people because he's going to be somebody special.
For sure. Let's talk about the co-main event. Casillas Holdorf versus Yuri Villafort for the welterweight title. Tell us a little bit more about Casillas. I'm very familiar with Yuri. Excuse me.
That's no different, to be honest with you. Casillas is from Omaha. He's homegrown. I mean, he grew up on our show, as an amateur, into a pro, and now into our welterweight champion. And this fight was actually supposed to happen back in July of last year, but then Yuri got hurt, and then Jason Jackson was forced out of his fight against Maki Pitolo in our main event. So then we had to transition into Casillas taking the fight with Maki the first time on 4 days' notice. Goes to a decision, and then 6 months later ends up TKOing him in the second round to win that title. He's a banger. He's going to stand in front of you and swing and see who goes down first. And Yuri's kind of a similar situation. Even though Yuri is still young, he's still a quote-unquote veteran of the sport because, he's been to Strikeforce, he's been to the UFC, he's been around for a while. And at one point in time, I think people considered him the biggest prospect in all of MMA. And, he's now on a 3-fight win streak, 2 with us. He's headed in the right direction. And in similar fashion, you have 2 individuals who are right on the cusp of potentially one going back or one going to the UFC. And it's just not gaining the notoriety that these other ones have, because even though Casillas is this incredible talent, he hasn't received necessarily the push of a high-level prospect that Rafian has. But don't mistake it, he's very good.
Ryan Stoddard, our guest here on MMAjunkie Radio. This Friday is Victory Fighting Championships 56. Emerson versus Stotts. You can catch the fights on the UFC Fight Pass, including 2 title fights at 135 pounds and 170 pounds. I also have Dan Tom here from Flow Combat. He's got a question for you. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me as an analyst, I'm always kind of watching the regional scene, whether, it's prospect watches or just, doing background because, the big shows, I think there's just a much more, symbiotic economy, if you will, for lack of a better word, going on right now. And, we're kind of preaching to the choir here because most of the listeners to this show, MMAjunkie Radio, are hardcore fans. So they are also the fans that are watching these regional shows. So I think I speak for kind of both mediums, from the media to fans. I think that, shows like Victory are catching on, and not just because, you guys have had X amount of shows and now on your 10th broadcast, but, it's not just, putting a guy that has a name like, Dakota Cochran versus Brooks, or trying to get, your champion Holdorf more attention with maybe a veteran name like Yuri Villafort. It's that what we were talking about earlier. I was a bit long-winded, but yes, these kind of shows are facilitating growth for all levels. The young guys coming up, but also growth for even the veterans. You mentioned Arlovsky and other guys earlier, and we've seen big name veterans go off to regional shows, and it actually, you could argue that it was better for them. So I love it that you guys, we're kind of preaching to the choir here, but I really love it that you guys are really working on all levels, and like you said, you guys are cultivating your own talent at the end of the day, and I really, really respect that. So bravo to what you guys are doing over there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, it means a lot. I can honestly tell you that I don't know that I've ever been more excited for a show, which is crazy because, I've been doing this 7 years and 30-plus events now, including my very first broadcast, which was an excellent show. But that was just a great show, top to bottom, of individuals that a lot of people knew. Now, this one is top to bottom individuals that we've grown, that people have seen for a fight for us before. They've gotten to know over the course of the last year, and you're able to build into those storylines, and it's just a really great all-around feeling to see it come together, because I can genuinely tell you that I'm one of the few people that I don't get me wrong, this is a business. I'm obviously here to pay my bills, but I love this more than anything in the world. There's no better feeling than come after Friday night when we hear from the media how great the show was, or we hear from the fans how great the show was. That to me matters more than any millions of dollars I could ever get. So for you guys to recognize what we're doing, it means a great deal to me, and I can't wait to continue to do what we do and impress everybody moving forward.
Well, just to kind of go further on that, I mean, I'm kind of talking about, as far as, I was maybe speaking in a broader sense with Bellator and UFC, but this is kind of, I think, symbiotically affecting a lot of the regional promotions. Are you guys kind of feeling that love? I mean, obviously, this show is a testament to the talent that you're building, but as far as the growth and kind of looking at the market, is it just, me kind of pontificating from the media seat or from the fan seat here, or is there an actual, maybe a little bit more life in the regional scene right now?
I would say so, because I'm going to Kansas City tomorrow night for the UFC.
Right.
And I honestly, and this is so weird to say this, and I hope it doesn't come off odd or arrogant, but I have more fans that are excited in Omaha that are excited for my show than they are for the UFC going on Saturday night.
That's awesome.
I have more people in Omaha coming to my show than going to the UFC Saturday night. It boggles my mind. I mean, I'm going because I've never seen Jacare fight. I've always wanted to see Jacare fight. That's an experience I want to have. And I'm a diehard MMA fan.
Right.
But the amount of everyday fans that are more excited for my show, Stotts isn't from here. Rob isn't from here. A lot of people in this area are genuinely excited for this fight because, once again, we've built the storyline. Rob came in and won the 45 title from a hometown guy in Ryan Roberts in December. Rafian's fought on every single Omaha show we've had since we made our debut on Fight Pass. So it does show you that the fans genuinely crave things like this. And look at the success of NXT right now on the WWE network, where they're cultivating their talent and then they're bringing those stars over. That's what I really liken ourselves to for the UFC, because there's so many other shows out there that are quote unquote feeder leagues for the UFC. But the problem is none of them are on Fight Pass. We're one of the few. So when you have an individual like Rafian, who has had X amount of fights, that fan base has been able to attach themselves to him, grow with him, and they will follow over when he gets signed to the UFC because of that connection and that relationship, quote unquote relationship, that they've built watching him come up. And so that's where I think long term, a show like mine, building athletes the way we are, is honestly going to make the sport grow overall and continue to create more fans and a bigger fan base, especially for these athletes after they make that jump.
Let's not forget the high finishing rate at Victory Fighting Championships. Ryan opens up the checkbook, and if you're finishing, he's cutting the check. So that's why I think there's a lot of buzz. It takes a while, but once it picks up, everybody, if there's something they latch on to, for me, it's the fact that these guys are coming to fight, they're incentivized, and the numbers back it up. So, Ryan, hey, man, good luck.
I was really surprised to see that article from John that said that the UFC over the course of the last year, obviously many more shows, many more fights, only ran about a 50% finish ratio. So to see that big of a number come from us is kind of mind-boggling. And to me, it's the little things, between the pay structure, the square cage. It sets us aside. If the WEC ever showed us anything, it's that fans crave something else. You can always want and love the UFC, but at the end of the day, real hardcore fans still need something else, and I'm hoping that we can provide that.
For sure. We count on it. 7 Eastern on Friday. Rob Emerson versus Rafion Stotts. Check out Victory Fighting Championship 56. It's going to be a great time. Ryan, I know it's a busy week for you. I saw that Facebook post. You never even sleep on fight week. So keep chugging that coffee, and good luck tomorrow night.
Hey, make sure you get a hold of Scott as soon as he gets back from Omaha. He's got a present for you.
All right. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, thank you, guys.
All right. We'll see you.
Thank you.
All right. That is Ryan Stoddard from Victory Fighting Championships. Yeah, man. The square cage, I think, brings something to it, because I think there's an element that I've seen from Pride and Affliction when they used it, where they take it from boxing, just being able to isolate someone in a corner. I mean, that's some real estate that you've taken away, some lateral real estate, and that can be very important when it comes to footwork.
Or
but
spin kicks.
Less, excuse me?
Or spin kicks.
Exactly. But less real estate has always been a contributor. He mentioned the WEC, and their cage was smaller than the UFC's octagon. There's one thing the UFC
absolutely
might be missing the boat on. It's 30 feet across on the big octagon that they use for pay-per-views. The 25-foot one produces more finishes. It's 33% less real estate.
But we've been getting less of those. Only like tough finales now, which is a bummer because
I know
we used to. It felt like it was like a normal question where people be lighting up MMA Junkie John on Twitter. Hey, what cage size is it? This because it factored in a lot of the bets.
Yeah.
Like the Lyoto Machida and the Yoel Romero matchups. You had the guy with the knockout power versus the guy with the footwork. Like that is the matchup. You look for the small cage on.
Yeah. That Stotts Emerson fight is going to be a good one.
Oh yeah.
Emerson's pretty intense right now, and but I've seen some highlights from Stotts aside from the fights I've caught, and that dude he really seems to have some skills. All right, we're going to take this break. When we come back, we'll start off with some calls. Dan from Oregon, and then we'll give you some of our thoughts on these big fights coming up on Saturday at the UFC on Fox card. One day after Victory Fighting Championships. Don't feel like they're competing. There's also a Bellator card on Saturday too. I mentioned that card earlier. We'll touch on that when we come back. MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM, Rush 93. Dan Tom from Flow Combat in the house.
Guys are clear.
Are you feeling better, Danny?
I mean, not better, but not worse. So I'm hoping that means that whatever I have is already peaked.
I'm just hoping whatever Goes has doesn't hit me.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, you've already been exposed to it, so.
I was spraying Lysol when that fool left the house today. I always crack up at Jay's game because every time there's a ring card girl, he just happens to be around this part of town, and wherever they're headed, he offers a ride because he just happens to be headed over there as well.
Transporter. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That should be his nickname, the ring card girl transporter.
That's right. Great. Joke movie cover of the transporter, have his face on there, Photoshop.
Yeah. I gave him a hard time about it one time.
Is he a good sport about it?
Oh yeah,
All right, guys, I'm gonna hit the bump. Be right back.
We know each other pretty well now, so. But I think one time he walked in, And I know the mics are on. You guys can hear us. This is all out in the open.
If it happens inside or outside the octagon, we talk about it here on your home for mixed martial arts, Sirius XM Rush 93, and the Sirius XM app.
I said, oh, look who has a
Explosive
perfect
takedowns, jaw-dropping KOs, and electrifying submissions. If it happens in the world of mixed martial arts, we're talking about it on Sirius XM Rush 93 and the Sirius XM app.
Cold, but I'm still sweating. That's why I didn't want to come in on
You
the
sick
hug.
too?
No.
Oh.
Sweating from the coffee or what. That's why I didn't want to get in close on the... Gave her like a really awkward hug. I was like,
Oh, I
Sorry.
see. Oh, you didn't want to give her armpit juice?
Yeah, and was it Misha talking about that? That's a real thing. But I think she was talking about you guys on the show, doing pictures with
pretty
guys.
dry.
And she's like, oh, guys.
Her or Jade? I can't remember one of them. Jade Bryce was here. But
maybe both, because I imagine that's a common thing for the girls with the stature and the guys getting up close. It's just like unavoidable. I was thinking about that. I'm like, that's tough mechanics right there.
Well, the Brazilian ladies, they in Brazil you greet everyone with a kiss, but it's kiss. But I think when they're here, they're so used to either not getting greeted with a kiss or just getting the one peck on the cheek that's that. And one time when I saw Jenny, I was greeted with a kiss, but I think she just forgot. So when we went kiss, usually we change cheeks because, again, that's how you greet in Brazil, right? But she forgot, and when we went, it was almost like lip, you know, she was, hey, you know, like, but not like, hey, what are you doing? But just like, oh, I forgot, you know. But I'm like,
Mulligan.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, hey, man.
That's funny you said that because I heard
I know what's
heard
up.
a lip smack. I'm like, did she do a kiss? I didn't feel any. I think she maybe caught herself and pulled back. Like, oh, I'm not.
Who's that? Luciana?
Luciana, yeah, just now because I thought I felt like felt or heard a kiss.
Yeah, no, everybody over there. In fact,
heard, not felt.
my in Peru, I kissed my uncles on the cheek. You greet each other as well. My cousins, male or female. But there it's just one. But in Brazil, it's two. But in Brazil and in Peru, even if you just met the person for the first time, you greet them that way.
Yeah,
so,
that's happened to me in Europe.
I like to make them feel at home, you know.
Yeah, it's not much of a stretch in that case, right?
Exactly.
Bag and 30.
Danny filled my head with Simpsons. That's where that reference came from earlier. I was able to weave that in there.
It is perfect reference.
For the hardcore
I like
dancing.
it.
If you know about that.
Alright, guys, coming up in 10. Stand by.
Let's see. Up, up, down, down, left, right. BA, start. You told me that code would get rid of them. Yeah, well, they're still here. Okay, but now they know I tried to kill them. Hold on, Mom. Here are George and Goes.
You can follow Dan Tom on Twitter at the MMAnalyst. I think that's the easiest way to get it out. He's also got a website called Mixed Martial Analyst, and you can see extended breakdowns because you'll catch the meat of his breakdowns with Flow Combat, but he'll have extended breakdowns and his past work on his website, and he also has the Protect Your Neck podcast on iTunes, so subscribe. You'll get some real good detailed breakdowns. We'll also talk about some of these fights that we have coming up on Saturday. We're running out of time, so I'm going to take this call and then we'll jump into it. If you want to follow along, go to the tab at the top of MMA Junkie's website called Rumors. Once you get there, scroll down to the fight card, UFC on Fox 24, Johnson versus Hayes, and then follow along, and I'll also open up the odds so we can maybe leave you with some sort of a 3-fight parlay. Until we get kind of more on a hot streak, I think we're going to do 3-fight parlays, at least I am, and maybe bump it up a little bit versus the 5-fight parlays that I used to have a lot of luck in the past, but have cooled down. I had a troublesome 4-1 this past week. Oh, it stung me so hard. Should have known, but I should have better known better. Dan from Morgan, start things off. What's up, man?
What's happening, man? I wanna talk about Rumble Johnson a little bit. And I don't know the guy out of the cage. We know some shit went down and whatnot, but I just want to thank that guy for everything he did, whether he won or he lost. I'm thinking back, and after he knocks out Anthony Johnson in Sweden, and he's like, man, this is a hard win to take. He's over here crying and shit. This is sad, He was just always a real dude when it came to the post-fight interviews. And I think to the first fight with DC, one of the best moments I've seen in the cage is when he took the belt from Dana White and wrapped it around DC's waist. And that's the kind of sportsmanship that I love to see in the cage. I just watched the thrill and the agony, and that was, I'm a real big fan of that little kind of embedded thing that they put out because, we all as hardcores, we love to hear all that behind-the-scenes talk and whatnot. And I don't know, I want to thank Rumble for all that stuff that he did, and I think that should be a mandatory thing going forward. It's like, okay, you want to come in and challenge for the belt? Where here's the stipulation, whoever loses, they got to wrap the belt around the other guy, because that always just makes for a great moment inside the cage. I also want to talk about Chris Weidman, man. Is he the new Anthony Pettis? Think about Pettis, man. He was the ruler of the division. We thought he was going to be the latest and greatest guy to take over. And, he's coming off of 3 losses now, just like Chris Weidman, and they're both just in a weird spot in their careers. What do you guys think of that?
Well, Pettis, I know what you mean. Pettis did get a win over Oliveira, so he at least shook that off. But I know what you mean, Dan. I know exactly what you mean, where somebody wins and they don't seem to show many holes, so we feel they're going to be there for a long time. I think it's going to be the norm. Honestly, it's going to be the norm with a lot of fighters. It'd be interesting to see if Conor could even get a few wins before he gets taken out, because there's some killers coming after him. So it's going to be real rare what's happening this weekend, where a guy has his 9th title defense under his belt and he's going for his 10th. Same thing with what Anderson Silva did. I think Ronda got to about 6. Those are going to go away, man. It's just getting too competitive nowadays. Now, Weidman, whereas Pettis was getting dominated or finished, Weidman, well, so did Weidman, but I feel like Weidman competed for some of those rounds, won some of those rounds, and then he's just, what do you say, he's getting sloppy, he's getting caught, or it's hard to even take away from the credit from what the opponent's doing. The opponent's just landing, beautiful knees, like in the case of Mousasi and Romero.
Yeah, the hard part with Weidman is that you almost wish that they were clean losses, whether you're talking about the controversy, the infamous Weidman wheel kick, or, the level-changing shot in a fight that, you could argue the momentum and scorecards could have been going his favor with Yoel Romero. And it's almost like those things fuel the kind of, and I say it with all due respect, I'm a Weidman fan, but I said it before, is his kind of stubborn attitude. It almost feels that, going, hey, look, I was in these fights. And I like Dan's comparison to Anthony Pettis because, for obvious reasons and because of the name value. But I like that Dan brings up this point because, again, kind of touching on something earlier, we're seeing this scenario happen. Maybe not as on big guys like Weidman, but there's guys like within Weidman's camp. Like let's look at Aljamain Sterling, who's going to be fighting this weekend.
0-2 in his last year.
Yeah, it's 2 split decision wins he was in, but it's 0-2 and it could be 0-3. And then you look at the narrative of the camp and the pressure that, fair or unfair, that's going to be on them for that, win or lose. I mean, it's crazy. I think it's a lesson for guys maybe to be a little smarter in the matchmaking for fighters and management, eh?
Yeah, they really wanted to go back to back with Weidman, Sterling, and Iaquinta to finish things out next week.
Yeah,
that would have been huge for that camp. With Pettis, from a distance, I thought to him the notoriety kind of got to him a little bit because he knew he was naturally talented, but it just looked like to me a guy who thought he was that much better than everyone else and just underrated how hungry everyone was. With Weidman, I think there was a little bit of that because let's face it, he took out the GOAT, Anderson Silva, 2 times, So I think for him the pills are tougher to swallow. I think Pettis can go back and go, that wasn't the best Anthony Pettis. I probably didn't camp the best. Again, it's just for me who follows social media. It looked like a guy that maybe just was outside the gym more than in the gym when he should have been in the gym. And the guys that set the bar high for that are guys like Dominic Cruz and George St. Pierre, where they're just laser focused, for 10 straight weeks, sometimes 12. But anyway, good call, Dan.
Hey, I got 2 more things, man.
Weidman,
I think Rockhold really got to him when he talked about, like, dude, I don't have anything but fighting. you've got a family you got to take care of, all these priorities, and, you know, that's just, and boom, what happens? Oh, 2 fights later, Weidman's like, oh, I got to get the hell out of here. I can't take my kids to school anymore. And he's like, Luke Rockhold's right, man. That's just like what he was
say
thinking,
that?
or at least how I perceived it.
I missed it. Did he say that? Did he actually isolate himself for the camp?
I mean, well, he was going to move in with his parents, but then he stayed in the guest house and all that stuff and just, like, got away from his family. So I really think what Luke said to him and how he beat him, it just really resonated with him. And the last thing, the UFC, the Alphabet, I think they're doing great, putting on great shows on Big Fox. I thought they should have been doing this for the past 4 or 5 years. Let's put our best fighters out there. And you look at the last card with the women and Donald Cerrone and all that stuff, and now this one, I think they're going in the right direction. I don't know their scheme, but I actually think they got this one right. Back to you guys. I'm out.
See you. Let's go to Marco in Waco. What's up, Marco?
Marco from Waco Road. I'm calling to the dance from Oregon Hour.
What's up?
Hey, guys. Freaking fuck Luke Thomas. Fuck Luke Thomas. Fuck Luke Thomas. I do that. You know what I mean? Yesterday. Let's talk about the card this weekend.
Hey, why? Aren't you a caller to his show as well? Why are you saying fuck Luke Thomas?
Because the dude, you know, is a snarky guy, and I don't think he likes the flavor of my calls, man. So he make it very public that he probably don't like him, and I'm going to make it very public that he's an asshole. There you go.
Wow. Check that
I
out.
thought Luke had a soft spot for the Latin love, too.
Well, you know, I've heard a few of the callers on his show, because I catch his show sometimes on the way home, and they bust on Marco. But it seemed to me that Luke didn't have a problem like that. Now, it's been a couple weeks since I caught it, so I don't know if things have changed, but there you have it. All right, well, you know, you always have a home here, buddy.
I know, wait. My parlay for this weekend, okay, I got Namajunas. Not just a favorite. I got 2 underdogs, Roy Nelson and Robert Whittaker. Mark it down.
I'm going to do it. Hold on a second. You got Nelson, Rose,
and Whittaker.
Oh, Whittaker. That's amazing.
I have them too, Marco.
Do you really?
Those are actually my two, and Nelson and Whittaker are
Oh.
actually my 2 official dog picks. But there's a stated bias, though. I scouted for Roy Nelson this one, so I put a big stated bias.
Me and that on the same
breakdown,
frequency.
so.
We're feeling the same. We're going to make some money this weekend.
Okay.
Peace
All
out,
right,
guys.
buddy.
Yep, my man.
All right. Thank you for the call.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of stated bias there, but yeah, Nelson and Whittaker, I feel pretty good about. A couple other dogs, I feel pretty good about too.
So tell me about Whittaker and Jacare. You feel like Whittaker can avoid the ground game? How? Is it going to be footwork, underhooks, a sprawl, the ability to get up quickly, an underrated ground game, or? Yeah, I mean, tell me about that.
I'm glad you said underhooks and sprawl because kind of like we're talking about with the presenting theory with Tony Ferguson. That's why I think not because he's a presenter, but that's why I think Robert Whittaker is going to be successful because he doesn't use the sprawl. He doesn't use the underhook. Guys who sprawl, even if they have a good sprawl and they stop Jacare's initial shot, because most people actually stop Jacare's initial shot. It's his chains that get him down. But when guys sprawl or underhook, they lose because sprawling or underhook involves a certain level of commitment to contact, which often leads to more grappling.
Mm-hmm.
What Whittaker does, I'm a big fan of wrist control, whether you're on the ground or in the clinch, because it doesn't allow you, to get off or dirty box. We saw John Jones just grab a wrist of DC their whole fight, and it neutralizes DC, his strongest thing. Whittaker does a good job of grabbing the wrist, but he also circles away. Most guys will defend, even if they're grabbing the wrist, underhook, whichever way they're using, they're not circling. So just like defending punches, if you go straight back, what's going to happen? The punch is going to eventually get you, right?
Right.
Well, that same theory is with takedowns. So I think the fact that Whittaker circles away, that's going to be the key here, because we saw him circle away against a guy like Brunson who was selling out, and then he comes right back with the uppercut off the break. It's those little spaces where Whittaker's going to have to win this fight if he wins it.
Whittaker is plus 185. Souza's minus 235. Mm-hmm. What if Souza has no success with getting Whittaker to the ground? He's improved his striking a lot. If you'll recall, 10 years ago, there was word on the street that this was a guy that just didn't even like getting hit. And now he's out there and he's got a formidable striking game.
Yeah, we heard that, and there were criticisms on his chin. But, again, he was still competing in jiu-jitsu. I mean, this guy's been in MMA for about 10 years. And those first years wasn't really the Jacare when you go back and look at that. It wasn't until toward the end of his Strikeforce run, and when he came in, he was facing guys like Okami, he was doing better. But if you look at it, if you pull up his record right now, there's not a lot of high-level strikers, footwork guys, or wrestlers that Jacare's fought. The closest guys to the wrestlers, counter-strikers, or footwork guys were Rockhold and Romero, both of which he lost to. Belfort is also a counter-striker, but that obviously, a little bit of a past the prime Belfort, to be fair. Not trying to be mean there, but it is what it is. Go's going to kill me for that. And but yeah, so I think when you look at his record, he hasn't had to face that. And I think Whitaker, even though I came in leaning toward Jacare, he's the deserved favorite. Whitaker is that stylistic antithesis, Jacare should win. He's Jacare, but I think we have to get past that narrative. The same reason why I picked Yoel Romero over Weidman. Everyone's like, but it's Chris Weidman. It's New York. He can't lose. And we've seen it time and time again. MMA doesn't give any craps about these narratives or storylines. Right. It's all about the matchup. Erase whatever you know. Doesn't matter if this guy's a champion. Everything is a case by case scenario in this sport, and I think Whitaker's is the worst matchup for Souza.
Okay, well that's all we want, honestly, when we're picking underdogs, because underdogs are what's going to pay you. You walk up with 3 favorites and you give them $100. There's a good chance. I mean, you're praying for him to give you $100 back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or maybe 200. You walk up with 100 and take 3 underdogs, or maybe 2 underdogs and a favorite. I mean, there's a chance you could turn that into like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
That to me is fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So as long as we have underdogs that have a shot, and I believe Whitaker is a fighter that has a shot. You can't just bet on someone who has value because of his name. You have to believe that he can win the fight. And if you do believe he can win the fight, then I have no problem with someone putting their money on it. So Marco's on Whitaker. You're on Whitaker. How about Watterson and Namajunas? Rose is the favorite here at -150. Watterson +120. The one thing Watterson, what I like about her game that sticks out the most is she's very refined in her techniques, her jiu-jitsu, her striking. It's that time away, I think, from being a mom, injuries, competing elsewhere at Invicta. But every time she's had to rise to the occasion on a big fight, damn, she's done well. Now Rose, on the other hand, I still feel like she has a high ceiling. It's just going to take a while to get there. But she's so focused on her career and doing whatever it takes to get better. Like I think it was either the fight before or the one before that, she wanted to try a camp just without Pat Barry. A lot of people thought they were done, but I've seen them together, and then I've seen them not. But as far as I know, I think they're still together. It's just she wanted to see how this camp could do without him. And then not even having to deal with the hair. She shaved her hair. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was just I like the way she applies herself to the moment that she's in. She's appreciating it. She knows she's Thug Rose. She knows she got an endorsement from Dana White that she could be that nasty, the next Ronda Rousey. But she's getting away from that, and she can be very cerebral at times. But can she get past someone who like Michelle Watterson, who just happens to be so refined in certain techniques, man?
This is, in my opinion, the most competitive fight on the card. So for that reason, I suggest keeping this one at least out of your parlays. If you want to play either side, the dog has value here in Watterson. I agree with you. I think, on a certain level, I'll be rooting for Watterson. But if I got to let you know my official pick here, it was actually Rose. And the reason why is I think because of the grappling and the wrestling. But the problem is Watterson's improved that area of her game specifically in these past couple years, and with us not seeing Rose since last summer, it's really hard to gauge. The sample sizes are very skewed for both ladies, right, as far as kind of forecasting on where they're going to be. But judging what they've seen, I essentially like Rose here. She's taken down all 5 of her UFC opponents, including the loss to Esparza, and she's never lost any of the fights, even going back to Invicta, where she's gotten a back mount. And even though I think Watterson is actually underrated on the ground, I agree with you, George. She has excellent technique there. The problem is she's so competitive and so confident, which is a good thing for a fighter to have, but it gets her in trouble because you look at all her fights, she's kind of, in victory and defeat, she overstays her welcome, and she's often fighting off submissions. And I don't think Rose is going to be able to get her maybe in 3 rounds, but Rose gets to the back. There's a round right there, even if you don't get the choke, right? We've seen that how many times. So I think those little inches might make for a difference, but, man, I'm scared to put my money by this one unless you're playing it over here.
All right, Danny, update me how we're looking on the breaks. Do we have one more to do?
We do have one more.
All right, let's get to it. You're listening to MMA Junkie Radio on Sirius XM Rush 93. When we come back, we'll talk about Demetrius Johnson, Wilson Hayes. If we have any extra moments, we'll talk. We'll pick one of these other fights on the fight card, and we'll rap about that too. Stay close. I'm at a friendly mixer.
Yeah.
And the wedding reception hasn't started yet, so everyone's just having a drink. And boy, the bride looked lovely, didn't she?
Just so you know, this is all listener picks. This is it was somebody in Canada. I can't remember. They said they had to have Drake for Canada.
This is Drake?
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. This sounded like the songs they play overnight in the casino spa when it's closed down. They're just playing music over it, you know?
I'm gonna play this for y'all. Hey, y'all get some more
I've never heard this
going on.
before,
I sound
ever.
a whole lot better.
I don't even like we're over a minute into the song. There we go.
Seeing you got ritualistic. Cleansing my soul.
This is your favorite artist, right, George?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so tomorrow's super early show. We're back in a minute.
Yeah, I gotta remind everybody.
Super early.
We have to go early because we have to do a workshop. Sirius XM workshop.
The prop lines aren't even out yet.
Who do you use?
Now. Dimes and then
Five Dimes.
Bovada, but Bovada doesn't do this like the day of their props, and they're not as
Payouts are easy.
Back at 30.
Pain in the butt.
Really?
More for Dimes. Bovada a bit easier, though I've had problems with Bovada too. I'm looking at DSI. I heard they're good.
All right, guys, coming up at 10. Stand by.
They pat down TSA agents because they don't know where those people have been. And because they can. They are Gorgeous George and Goes. And this is MMA Junkie Radio.
All right. We have a few minutes left here. Dan, the main event is Wilson Hayes versus Demetrius Johnson. Does my boy have a shot? Wilson Hayes, you know, he's got no knockouts on his resume.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he can't hit hard. And he is rather big. 25er. He fought a lot of his career in different weight classes, including 35 and 45. He may even have a 55 out there. But he will be fighting at 125 pounds for the world title against Demetrius Johnson. That's what they weigh in. They'll probably be fighting at. If I had to guess, I think DJ walks around at 38. So let's just put him back at his walk around or somewhere in the 36 range. Super fast, you know, very explosive fighter. Wilson Hayes will probably be about maybe 5 pounds heavier.
Yeah, and no way to compare myself to DJ here, but I will note that I know Wilson actually through Neil Melanson. When he was down there at Alliance, I got to meet, hang out, and even grapple with Wilson a couple times. And you know, when the chef is flipping the pizza dough in the air, like that's how Wilson made me feel with his like X guard and just elevating dudes. He's like the nicest guy in the world, though. You know, definitely rooting for him to do well here. But yeah, the pick is DJ, and yeah, it's an interesting point. Yeah, no official stoppage by strikes. But I'll tell you what, though, he's got a mean liver kick, and it doesn't matter how well you recover and how good your chin is. That liver kick shuts down all. So that's going to be a shot to watch out for from him. But
what about Wilson in top position in a half mount, a mount, taking the back? If he has 3 minutes to go, how much trouble is DJ in? Or just do you think DJ has enough refined skills to just protect his neck, get to the end of a round, and then they have to start over?
You know, not to paint with too broad of a stroke, but I think DJ has enough skills to compete with Wilson in all positions, bad, good, top, or bottom.
Yeah.
But where I like what you said, taking the back, because that's where I think Wilson's going to have his window.
Some kind of way. I don't know how, but some kind of way.
If he gets him to the ground, it's going to be trouble. And you know, Showtime likes dogs, and you know, I only have 2 official dogs. But if you're listening to me saying there's to just go look at the fights to avoid section on mixedmartialanalyst.com, and chances are those are the dogs that I think are live. And under that, yeah, I agree with Showtime. Like I said earlier, Watterson's a real live dog here. Namajunas versus Watterson is under my fights to avoid. And I'll tell you what, Sterling versus Mendez, it was one of those like 11th hour picks. That was my 11th hour pick. Like, I literally had Mendez maybe halfway written down and went Sterling last minute. I feel that Sterling does get it done, but I think this fight's way closer than that line says. If you're looking, I know Joey Odessa hates the word value, but Mendez has some value, and I think so does Smith too. If y'all are looking for underdogs, I know you like your underdog Showtime.
Drag, I'm gonna tell you another fight too. I don't know if you guys gonna agree with me, but I think it's gonna be a drag 'em out fight. Is this Zach Cummins Nathan Coy fight, man? I think this gonna be an ugly fight. Because Coy can, he's a big dog, but I think he can make that fight ugly too.
Fun fact on Coy, he actually fought Tyron Woodley, and he lost by split decision.
That's right.
So he can hang back and say, hey, that champ right there, I took him to a split. I'd be pretty proud of that if I did that, even if it was 5-6 years ago or whatever. But it was a split decision.
Rick Story's got a victory over Rick Story too. He's retired now, but
yeah. Okay, so on that one, it's Nathan Coy plus 300, Zach Cummings minus 400. Did you get too much into that one, Dan? Or?
Zach Cummings, I'm a big fan of Zach Cummings. I think he's better than a lot of people lead on. I think he's more technical, especially striking as a southpaw. He's that underdog trope you want, right? He's a durable southpaw who can wrestle. Like guys like we just said, Rick Story fits that trope. Diego Sanchez, and how many times have those underdogs cashed? So that's why I didn't put a lot of faith in Cummings for that price. It's a little too high. That's a dog or pass. Yeah, I think.
We got to move on, Showtime. Thanks for the call, though.
Okay, guys.
All right, see ya.
All right,
easy, Showtime.
Dan, thanks for coming by to co-host with us. And again, let everybody know where you're at. It's Protect Your Neck Podcast, iTunes. You got the podcast every week, and then you got Mixed Martial. At the MMA Analyst on Twitter.
Yes, right.
And then mixedmartialanalyst.com for the website.
Yep, everything's going to be on that Twitter handle. Everything will be at that address. I'm going to cover betting from top to bottom after we get out of here. So Protect Your Neck Podcast. Thank you, George, for having me on, man. I always love coming on here.
Our pleasure. Also want to thank Ryan Stoddard. Thank you, Scott, for setting that up, and Luciana Andrade. Got to thank myself. She hollered at me. I said, "Yeah, come on down, girl." It was really nice to meet her. All right, tomorrow we will be doing the show. Pay attention here. Tomorrow, Friday, April 14th. We're coming in a bit early. We're going to go 6 to 8 Pacific, 9 to 11 Eastern. We have a SiriusXM workshop that we got to attend, so we got to do it a little bit early. All right, folks, we are out of here. Go out there and be champions. And you know what? Go Man U.
It cost me my very last dime. If I wind up broke, well, I'll always remember that I had a swing in time. I'm gonna give it everything I've got. Lady luck, please let the dice say let me shoot a 7 with every shot. Viva Las Vegas. Viva
She couldn't do it. Something like this.
Viva Las Vegas. Viva, Viva Las Vegas.
All right, we are outie, Danny. You need anything from us?
No, not today. So for tomorrow, I'll be here at 8 a.m.
Okay.
And who should I send the show to? Should I still send it to Goes, or do you want me to send the show to you?
Can you just do both of us?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was great
Bye, Dan, Tom.
finally getting to catch you this time, my man. I
know, right?
Yeah, man. Hey, after I put these headsets off, I'm going to hit those 2 buttons that Ghost said to hit. That's cool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Danny, have a good one, man. I hope to talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, too.
All right, my man.
Later.
What did he say? I don't know about that thing, but he said hit that one first, and then that one, and that's it. This one first? Yep.